Good morning, Tri-State Manufacturers Association. Thank you for attending this morning. This meeting is scheduled to last about 60 minutes. We ask if you could put your virtual name tag on. By doing this, you scroll over your profile video, rename your profile in the top right corner by clicking those three dots with your name and your company name. We are able to then click on the participant screen and see who is with us today if your video is not showing. And just as a reminder, all of our webinars and this one are recorded for later viewing via the TSMA website under the Events tab and Past Events. And with that, I would like to now turn the mic over to our sponsor today, OSHA Environmental Compliance Systems, OECS.
Thank you, Amy. Good morning, everybody. Bear with me while I try to share my screen. All right, well, good morning. And I want to thank everybody for allowing us the opportunity to share a little bit about OECS and what we do. We are a safety and compliance consulting firm. We are spread all over Minnesota, North Dakota, South Dakota, and various locations throughout the United States. We do travel to our clients to help them with a variety of safety services. So not only just do we do a training on site, but in the whole capacity when you look at the entire over of industrial hygiene services, environmental services. 2021 or 2020 and COVID has taught us a lot about how to be a little bit more flexible. So we expanded and have a virtual support arm of our company now where we can do some training virtually, setting up Zoom meetings just like this. But we still know that we need to be on site. So keeping with that core value that we have of, safety-driven mission and being on site and helping companies strive to meet the safety goals and needs that they have. So through those services of coming on site isn't just always training, but doing assessments. Do companies have job hazard analysis completed for their work areas? Do we need to come in and help? Do they have they had an accident or multiple events that have occurred that we could maybe come in and facilitate a accident investigation to get to the root cause so that they don't have to deal with that going forward. Safety committee support, also looking at maybe the EMR the company has to help drive it down below the numbers that they need for insurance or premium discounts. And going back again to some of those compliance services that we offer outside different trainings, we've added the mobile elevated work platforms as of late with the new ANSI standard that changed in June of 2020, trying to stay up to date with all the industry changes. But we are part of TSMA, and we are very glad to always be of assistance if anybody needs to reach out for anything, even if it's just a question that you have. Please let us know. We have a team. There's 5 of us here in Fargo, where I'm housed out of, but I do have someone in central Minnesota. Then we have our Minneapolis office as well. So we do have a pretty deep group team that's able to assist with any of your questions. So with that, I want to thank you all again, and I will turn it over to Mark.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the TSMA January meeting. I would like to start with some gratitude from Tri-State to all of you who continue to support and engage our association amid these challenging and changing times. Each of us has adapted to deliver and receive information, responsibility, and cultivate professional relationships. So thank you very much. Although our methods of interaction have evolved, be assured that Tri-State continues not only to exist, but to thrive and to accomplish significant outcomes to enhance manufacturing in our region. So we're going to review some, we usually do this in January, some annual reports. So Amy's going to put some stuff up there for our financial report.
Yep, I just shared the financial report via chat for everybody. So that is there, and I will pull up a snapshot.
So I'm not going to review the details of the financial report for everybody, so everybody please review that in chat when you have time. And then this is pretty nice thing that we have is the snapshot for 2020, what's going on. So everybody can go to our website and see this. It's a nice new added thing we have going on. So in 2021, we have some new board members. Tim Kendall from Blackhawk, Nicole McDonald from Brunswick, Dan Mosky from Vector Windows, and Melissa Oheiser from OECS, who we just listened to. Welcome aboard. So now I can announce some milestone anniversaries. This is pretty cool stuff, everyone. We have this milestone anniversary of people being members of Tri-State. So first one is 5 years, Northern Contours. 15 years, ECO Finish. 20 years, Mackinac Administrators. 25 years, ID Machine. Now here's a pretty good thing about Tri-State. 30 years of being members is Aurora Fabrication, Die-Cast Specialties, Eddie Bailey Enterprise, Minnesota, Lowry Manufacturing, North Dakota State College of Science, and West Tool Design. So thank you very much to everybody. So new members that have signed up since October 2020 would be Headwaters Strategic Succession Consulting, Marine Innovation, and OpGo Marketing. I don't know who OpGo Marketing is, but I'll learn about them. So thank you for joining. Some updates for the Career Dream Team. Hopefully everybody that is a member of Tri-State, this is my favorite part of being part of Tri-State is the Dream Team, because this is what I believe is going to get people to want to get into manufacturing. So the Career Dream Team is once again active. The team consists of 9 members from all walks of manufacturing. We're eligible for will engage virtually with middle and high school students to encourage careers in manufacturing. The team is already scheduled for events and available for more. If you are interested in adding one of your employees to Manufacturing Career Dream Team, please reach out to Amy at the TSMA office. You can tell I'm reading off my script very carefully here. Manufacturing and Educator Solution Group is another thing we're working on. Conversation is scheduled between manufacturing representatives and area schools, career counselors to discuss how manufacturing can support schools and better reach students and parents with information about careers in manufacturing. The moderator for this discussion is Troy Haugen. So that's a very important thing is we partner up with the educators around this community. Emerging leaders. So emerging leaders is supposed to be the younger, but we don't put an age on that because emerging leaders can be at all ages, but usually they're the younger go-getters of a company. So quarterly gatherings for them to come to a meeting, manufacturers will give some thought, who are the up and coming people with leadership potential in your company? Contact the office to get those people added to the TSMA database and encourage their attendance at the next emerging leaders discussion happening via Zoom on February 10th. So we really need more engagement from the younger people. Just like myself, I'm getting a little older and Tri-State, well, I'll be retiring from Tri-State someday, but we need new people to come in. Marketing and Manufacturing Series initiated in July. The marketing of Manufacturing Series has proven to be a success. Participation at the monthly webinars ranges from 30 to 60 registered attendees. We've received great feedback and we've added new members. Please be reminded that all webinars and virtual meetings are recorded for viewing at your convenience. You can find links on the new TSMA website or on YouTube. So the upcoming HR webinar series, TSMA, AMFA, and CMMA are in the process of launching a new human resource series. If you wear the HR hat at your company, or if you know somebody who would like to help with this content development and the format, please contact Amy at TSMA office. We'd welcome input from all manufacturers. So now I'd like to introduce the keynote speaker for today. In this heightened time of a pandemic, it is important to know how to spot mental health warning signs and what actions to take to help. Jeana Scheffler started at Prairie St. John's as a mental health therapy intern in 2016. After finishing her master's degree in clinical mental health counseling, she was employed full-time as an audit inpatient therapist. In 2019, Jeana transitioned into a role that includes hospital improvement, compliance, and regulatory functions. Jeana has completed numerous presentations for local news, schools, libraries, universities, and businesses. Jeana has a passion for sharing useful and practical information to help people better understand and support those with mental health and substance use concerns. With that, I will turn it over to Jeana. Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Mark. And I really appreciate all of you being here today to learn a little bit about mental health. I'm just going to share my screen real quick so you guys can hopefully all see my presentation. Typically, when I do these presentations, I like to keep it really interactive. I want to speak about the things that you guys really want to learn about, the pressing issues, the things that maybe keep you up at night or things that keep getting brought up in different meetings. So at any time in this presentation, feel free to send a chat. And Amy can interrupt me at any time to ask any questions or maybe guide the direction that this presentation is going in a little bit. But obviously, because we're on Zoom, it's a little bit harder to be as interactive as we once were when we did these presentations live. Can you all see my PowerPoint okay?
Yes, perfect.
Perfect. And we can send these slides out as well as some different help sheets that we've put together. So obviously partnering with people in mental health, making sure people can access treatment and information as needed is really important, especially because mental health can kind of be like a great unknown for many people, and there's lots of myths and misunderstandings with it. So the objectives that I have, just increasing awareness in the workplace, especially with mental health concerns and substance use concerns. Thinking about the manufacturing industry, you could have heightened risks for both within employees who work in these various workplaces. And then overall, just improving the workplace. Obviously, with the pandemic going on, one of the earlier comments I was given is kind of the employees who may be disgruntled about having to work while other people, maybe the ones running the company, are sitting at home safely, kind of away from the pandemic. For the purpose of this presentation, obviously we can understand that many individuals are working in high-risk areas where they could be exposed to COVID. But it doesn't just mean that these people are in manufacturing facilities or in factories. These are doctors and nurses, very highly educated people, are still doing what they need to do every day. We also know many business owners, many CEOs, a lot of really important, highly educated people are not necessarily on the front lines, but still doing what they need to do every day. So with employees, kind of trying to change that conversation a little bit, the best thing you can do is offer somebody empathy. For whatever reason, they feel like it's unfair that they're in this situation and you're not. So trying to understand their fears and their anxieties and do your best to connect with them in a passionate way, understanding that you might not be in this situation, but you can imagine how it would feel, especially if they have someone at home that may be having health issues or their kids are doing Zoom from home. This time can be very stressful. For leaders of different organizations, really just showing that you care, genuinely understanding that people do have very real concerns and they might not be as concerning to you, but acknowledging the importance to your employees is really important right now. And if you guys have more questions specifically on the pandemic and work stress, definitely ask throughout the presentation. So just looking at the stigma, people with mental health issues do go to work every day. However, 8 in 10 of them won't seek treatment just because of the pure shame and fear. I know professionals, psychiatrists, therapists who would not go into therapy or seek treatment themselves. And these are the people who are right in it. So there's a lot of conversations that need to change, because even people who talk about suicide and mental health issues every single day would struggle to get access to treatment. 68% of employees would hide that from a coworker. A lot of you probably wouldn't discuss any sort of medical issue, let alone a mental health concern that you may be having with someone. And only 4.5 of employees are accessing EAPs. So even though a lot of people, pay a great deal of money to be able to offer these services, their employees really aren't accessing it. And a lot of that is just due to fear that it could get back to their employee. Obviously in mental health, and especially with substance use, we take privacy very seriously. Confidentiality is really important. So always encouraging your staff not only to share with you when they may be struggling, but letting them know you don't have to tell me exactly what's wrong. All I need to know is that you need help and I'll be here for you. There is a huge financial impact with both substance use and mental health concerns. Really just missing work, not being as strong of as an employee as you could be. But understanding how this could impact different businesses, getting it on the front end, looking at how you could have a return on investment for investing in mental health, making it okay to talk about. As leaders, I wouldn't necessarily encourage you to talk about your own specific mental health issues, just because, as a therapist, I want my patients to view me as someone who is stable and able to help and able to lead. So if a person would ever ask me, well, have you struggled the way I've struggled? I would always answer, part of the human condition is that we struggle at various times through our lives. No one gets out of life unscathed. No one is immune to job loss, the death of a pet, family, friend. We all have times where we experience heightened anxiety or depression. So you can relate to them in the sense that you too are human. You too have different stressors. And another thing, I would never encourage you to complain to employees, just because for whatever reason, they almost feel like you should be immune to that. They can send their concerns upwards, but they don't really want to hear about your concerns coming down. So a lot of Americans do experience mental health and substance use issues. At Prairie St. John's in Fargo, if you aren't familiar with us, we treat very normal people every single day. It's not that textbook, one flew over the cuckoo's nest. It's a very controlled environment where people who have jobs, families, and responsibilities come in because it got to the point where they couldn't manage, outside on their own. So being able to get people connected to help as early as possible is really important to us. So 1 in 5 Americans will have a mental health diagnosis each year. Different industries may have higher rates of mental health or substance use concerns, but always think of yourself or any of your employees, family, friends. Mental health is on a spectrum. So hopefully we're functioning well, we're able to wake up, take care of our things, we're feeling healthy, we're feeling good about ourselves. We have a good outlook on the future. Then maybe an unfortunate incident happens, you start coping. You're not doing the best you could be, but you're able to manage to an extent. As you move down the spectrum, you might get to the point where you're struggling or just flat out doing unwell. And this is the point where you need to get help. You need to have somebody kind of step in. And for our patients, about 50% of them come to us voluntarily. The other 50% would come either on a Minnesota hold or a North Dakota hold. That's where a doctor or law enforcement in the community felt, you really need help. You're not seeing this yourself, but we're going to do this for you. So for the people, however they get to the hospital, sometimes it's family encouraging them or friends. These people may be reluctant to get treatment at the beginning, or they say, I don't need to be here, I can handle this. The majority of patients that I talk to when they discharge say, I'm so glad I was able to go there. I was finally able to just get this stuff out, learn how to cope, get some medication that's going to help me manage these symptoms, and I truly feel a lot better. 94% of patients who leave our facility report feeling better when they first got in. So just knowing treatment is available, we're always happy to help. All of your employees have their baseline functioning. Full assistance is required for younger children, older adults, people with disabilities, but the majority of the people you're working with are probably in full independence in adulthood. You may notice changes in your employees functioning or your family, your friends, yourself before they recognize it themselves. There are a lot of hallmarks of mental health issues. A big one is irritability, just not being able to handle those little things that we used to just kind of blow off. So understanding how we can kind of recognize those things and help point it out in others if we notice they're struggling. And of course, doing that in a very thoughtful, compassionate way, never being accusatory. So basically just mental health 101, it's anything that's affecting your thinking, feelings, or mood. The diagnoses that we would offer would fall into different categories. Sometimes it impacts how you can relate to others or how you can function. And there's no single indicator, but it's always a combination of factors that would make up a diagnosis. People do really well when they have meaningful roles, such as a job that they go to that keeps them accountable. They have support and they're able to access treatment and care. When we send these slides out, you can always go into these a little bit more in depth. I won't get too detailed on some of these just because in the best interest of time. But the easiest one to spot is just a change in appearance, personal hygiene, complaining of pain or fatigue, just not feeling well, not being able to kind of pay attention in a conversation, getting confused easily. And always I caution you against trying to diagnose someone yourself with a mental health issue, but regular people can identify when somebody may be struggling and try to reach out for help. Basic changes in performance. This is really good for HR to always recognize, when somebody constantly calls in after football Sunday or on a Monday after a holiday, they may have an issue with substance use. They may be engaging in excessive drinking the night before, and you'll start to see these patterns show up when you track it. Obviously in certain industries, sobriety and having a very sharp mind is really important. So talking to your employees about when you notice these changes in performance happening. Know that all of your employees have risk factors and protective factors. The risk factors are what makes them more vulnerable to different stressors that may be occurring in their lives. They might not have stable housing. They might not have enough income to pay for child support or different food that they need. But at the same time, all of your employees have protective factors. They may have a mom who's always been really supportive and can help them out when they need it. They may have health insurance that can pay for services. So knowing that even though some of our people we work with have a lot against them, every single adult has protective factors. Even, a homeless adult with schizophrenia out on the streets, they still have their own personal experiences and memories. Those are things that you can't take away from someone. These are just some different disorders that adults you work with may be impacted by. Anxiety and burnout are huge. Depression and stress. So we'll just kind of cover those a little bit. When anybody is struggling with mental health, the best place to start is a medical checkup. If you go to the doctor, do a lab draw, urine analysis, a blood analysis, a lot of times they can find things that may mimic a mental health issue, but it's really just a medical issue. A lot of adults are vitamin deficient. They may be struggling with dehydration. So understanding that when somebody's struggling, just refer them to their primary care. Say, have you been to the doctor in a while? I wonder if you explain what you're feeling to them, if they would be able to do something to help you out right now. Therapy and medication are always options. They always work best together, but some people are against taking medications for mental health issues and would choose just to do therapy on its own. There's also day treatment. So a program we offer at Prairie St. John's, it's called partial hospitalization programming. And these are the adults that have jobs, they function really well, they have a lifestyle. They'll come here for treatment during the day. Sometimes for 2 or 4 weeks, they meet with a psychiatrist, therapist, social worker. And within the groups, they can process through a lot of what they're experiencing, find better ways to cope and kind of manage their life better. So this is always a really good option for employees who are able to get time off from work, or if it's getting to the point where they're asked to be off from work for a little bit. If you encourage someone to go get help, this is a program that I would highly recommend. Obviously, a person would have to be referred into it by a doctor, but knowing what the resources are and letting people know that there are definitely options out there. The highest level of care is hospitalization. It's always avoided. But if a person is experiencing suicidal ideation with a plan and intent to carry out that plan, they do need to be hospitalized under the law in Minnesota and North Dakota. If you can't ensure safety, extra steps do have to be taken. Understanding suicide is really high, and obviously with the pandemic, job instability, very poor outlook. Nobody really knows how many more months or even years this is going to go on. So these statistics are just from a couple years ago, but I do want to point out every year about 45,000 people in the U.S. Die by suicide. The important thing to remember is that males who work, who have jobs, and have access to lethal means are the highest group to die by suicide. Women will attempt suicide about twice as often, but men tend to use more lethal means when they attempt suicide, which is generally a firearm. So if 45,000 people died last year, about 22,000 of them would still be with us if they didn't have access to a firearm on that stressful day they were experiencing. The important thing to remember with suicidality is that it's very ambivalent. People don't ever commit to wanting to end their lives. It's really more about ending the pain that they're experiencing. If you're having a really hard time, you don't see a way out, your brain can kind of convince you that it will never get better. This is the solution. So as much as a person doesn't want to take that route, sometimes they feel like it's the only choice. If no one intervenes and offers them a hand up, they may die by suicide. So if you know somebody who has access to firearms in their home and you are concerned about them, maybe they're just unpredictable or erratic, always say, I'm really concerned about you. I know what the statistics say. If we remove these firearms, it can help you be a lot safer right now. I've had this conversation with people before. It can be difficult, especially given people's different beliefs on having firearms. But truthfully, that is the number one thing for white males who are employed, is just removing the firearms from the home. These sites have a lot of contributing factors. There's no one thing that leads somebody to suicidal ideation, but it is important to understand the best thing that we can do as humans is offer support to one another. Even if you've never had a suicidal thought in your life and you could never understand why someone would do that, just imagine how hard it would be if you really felt that was your only option. There's always suicide resources. I would keep these posted in your workplace. Crisis lines 911 are going to an emergency room or a psychiatric hospital like Prairie St. John's. Being really empathetic, offering as much support as you can, and don't ever hesitate to say, I'm really not a professional, but I want to make sure you're okay right now. What can I do to help you? People experiencing depression may be very hesitant to reach out. So as an employer, being able to take that first step, even if it feels scary and you're not sure what to do, and acknowledging that really. I'm just going to go through a little bit to substance use. Substance use is very commonly occurring with mental health concerns. It is a very strong belief that that in the manufacturing industry, people may use substances more because of the camaraderie that they build with people. So it's just kind of an acceptance, a culturally accepted thing. The workplaces my parents worked at growing up, I remember every Friday they would bring in a case of beer and everyone would go into the same area and have alcohol before driving home. So think about somebody in recovery or struggling with alcohol. Normal people can drink 1 or 2 drinks and they know when to stop. People with substance use disorder, if 2 is good, 4 is better. If 4 is good, 8 is better. They really don't have a stopping point. So sometimes that one drink offering can kind of trigger them more into a binge drinking episode. But understanding that there are a lot of people who live very healthy lives and don't drink alcohol. Sometimes people think of them as like, you know, it's an endless church picnic. Where's the fun in that? But I do think the culture is shifting a little bit so that people do feel safe and healthy not engaging in substance use. And of course, there's economic impact in that as well. There's a lot of contributing factors to different substance use, but really making it a zero tolerance policy, you know, at your workplace, and not letting people engage in substance use or not normalizing it or glorifying it, if you will. So always encourage your employees in the decision-making process, promote work-life balance as much as you can. Generationally, some people view those who work 60 hours a week as the hardest workers. Where really somebody who works 40 hours a week but does so really well could actually be more successful in their job because they're able to balance their work and their life. So when workplace laws first came into effect, which I'm sure many of you are familiar with, they felt that it was most appropriate to have 8 hours of work, 8 hours of free time, and then 8 hours of sleep. It's kind of a good way to divide your day, and encouraging your employees to do that. Kind of getting rid of that culture of whoever works the most overtime is our most valuable employee. All of this matters because we really want to increase engagement and morale as much as we can. We don't want people to be at the workplace feeling incredibly defeated or that people aren't listening to us. We want to have employees that we can retain. We want to increase their productivity. You guys have all heard of organizations that do a really good job of keeping their employees happy. That's excellent PR for any organization, knowing that people like working there and they're proud to say that this is their place of employment. And of course, we want to reduce any type of absenteeism, conflicts, grievances, or injuries. If you have someone at your workplace who's struggling with mental health or substance use, the best thing they can do is be on a schedule, have something that's accountable to them, and something that they can look forward to every day. So as we kind of wrap down the end of this section of the presentation, I'll leave all of our contact information up here, but I'm just wondering if anybody has any questions or if you have more a direction that you'd like me to go in.
Thank you, Jeana, very much. And just want to remind the attendees today that you can use the chat feature to send in your questions or unmute yourself. And then I am happy to relay those to you from chat. So I do have one question that came in, Jeana. Is it true that if I bring up my concerns about someone's mental health status, it may spark them to do something dangerous?
Yeah, that's definitely a myth. A lot of people think if they ask about it, it may trigger it. Truly, if somebody is struggling with mental health issues or especially suicidal ideation, that probably is on the forefront of their thoughts all day, every day. You asking about it would never activate it in somebody who otherwise wouldn't be thinking about that. But just knowing sometimes people build up all of this stress that the second a question's asked, are you okay? It's almost like releasing all of the air from that balloon. The person feels, finally, I can let this go. I can share it with someone. I'm not going to struggle with this alone. But no, asking about it would never activate it. It's a really good question.
Great. Another one here, isn't stress and anxiety the same thing?
Definitely. So stress and anxiety are different, and that stress is something we all experience to different degrees, whereas anxiety is a diagnosable illness, and it's really where you can't stop thinking about what could possibly happen. A lot of mindfulness can work for both. I know some of you may think that's way too new age or like woo-woo. When I started practicing mindfulness as a therapist, I led 2 groups every single day, and I thought, well, this is kind of silly. I'm sitting here doing deep breathing exercises with all these people. But truthfully, after about 9 months, I completely changed as a person. I truly felt very calm, able to deal with stressful things that were maybe more difficult situations before. So stress and anxiety are both manageable, even if they're just a little bit different. Anxiety could lead to fully avoiding tasks, like going to meetings, jumping on a Zoom presentation and, having your picture, asking questions. That can be very anxiety provoking because it's like a performance anxiety. We don't want people to think of us as incompetent in some way.
Thank you. Another question here. How does a daily routine play a part in my mental health?
Definitely having a set schedule where you wake up and go to bed around the same time each day, not deviating from that plus or minus an hour, especially on the weekends. Some people tend to stay up later than usual and then sleep in. That can really affect your sleep schedule for the rest of the week. I always encourage people to have one thing to look forward to each day. So the first thing when you wake up, think, what are you looking forward to? You may just have packed a really good lunch, or you're going to see, a friend, or do something fun with your child after work, especially living this far in the Northern Hemisphere, where we have a lot of cloudy days where we don't see the sun or very shortened daylight hours. Things can be pretty bleak. Your outlook may not seem super positive. So always convincing yourself there is something to look forward each day. This is what it can be for me, as well as kind of putting in things that you have to do, checking those boxes off early in the day so you feel a little more accomplished at the start of the day. A book I would highly recommend reading is Make Your Bed. It's a very easy read, a very short book. I believe it was a general in the Navy that wrote it. And obviously the concept of the book, he gave a speech at Texas University for graduation, and he kind of gave like the 10 things that helped him in his career in the military. And one of them was get up and make your bed, accomplish one thing each day, no matter how crappy the rest of the day is, you have that one thing accomplished. So there's a lot of different things that you can put out to your employees, different challenges or fun activities if you have competitive people, to do positive things for their mental health throughout the month, especially during the winter months.
Great, thank you. That's a great segue into another question. I know we have a number of registered participants that are in a position where they might roll out employee morale activities. Do you have any ideas for them that maybe you've shared with other clients? Some safe social distancing, morale building ideas or activities?
Yeah, that's definitely a good one. So in my role at Prairie right now, I do performance improvement. So the biggest thing that I do is ask every employee on every shift, every single day, constantly getting feedback from employees, because sometimes, HR has the absolute best intentions, but they roll these things out and they might kind of fall flat like a balloon. Really getting feedback from the employees on things that they would be interested in doing, whether it's like a fun weight loss challenge where you have a big prize at the end, or different activities in between, times where you might stop work and do something healthy and kind of team building, you know, whether that's like a spike ball or some type of event, just trying to bring in as much happiness as you can, because truthfully a lot of your employees do spend a fair amount of their waking hours in the workplace. I'll try to think of some specific things that could be a fun, but I would always start with the employees, get them as engaged as possible. That helps them know that their opinions are being heard, and all of the leaders at the top are genuinely interested in what they think would be a fun. So at Prairie, we always do like food trucks throughout the year. Nobody can turn down a good food truck unless they're on a restrictive diet, of course. So different things like that HR can put together and kind of just give somebody something bright to look forward to.
Wonderful. Thank you. Any other questions? All right. I'm kind of wondering, since we do have a couple minutes here, does any of the participants have any ideas for the group on morale building ideas or anything that came to mind? I know that there's manufacturers that in our region that have done the food truck idea and different wellness activities. I'm just wondering if anyone is willing to share. Shy group. Well, if you would like to share, you can put it in the chat as well, because I know we would all love to hear some ideas. We have to be creative now, so any help is great help. So thank you so much, Jeana, for your expertise. And with that, I would like to pass the mic back to Mark.
All right, well, thank you. So next up on our meeting today is the tour. And it's always weird doing a virtual tour. I love doing tours in person. You can see a lot more stuff, but I'm excited about this one. Alexandria Industries is a contract manufacturing that produces custom components for many different markets and applications. It uses advanced manufacturing technology and skilled workforce to create extruded aluminum and precision machine products, heat sinks and plastic injection and foam molded components. The company also provides finishing, welding, and assembly services for its customers. Put simply, Alexandria Industries makes the components that go into products that people see and use every day. Super cool. So we have two guests from Alexandria Industries. First, Lynette Kluver is the Director of Organizational Development, is responsible for strategic planning, human resources, employee and leadership development, safety, and workplace ministry at Alexandria Industries. Her passion rests solely on building a culture of learning and employee wellness within the organization through her creative leadership development training program. Building a company-owned family health and wellness clinic for employees and fostering a culture built on honesty, compassion, and hard work. And then Patty Hoffman is now the marketing and communication specialist, builds awareness of Alexandria Industries through strategic communication programs and B2B marketing. She is responsible for enhancing the company's brand reputation strategically and consistently. Through her dog media relations efforts, Alexandria Industries' efforts to attract employees to work in manufacturing appeared in New York Times feature article, which includes its Not So Heavy Metal tour for students. Cover story about the company's evolution in integrating automation technology and robotics into its manufacturing services has also featured in Modern Machine Shop magazine. So with that, you guys, Lynette or Patty, you can take
Hi,
over.
everyone. This is Patty Hoffman with Alexandria Industries. We're going to kick off this little section with a virtual tour of our facility. It's video, so hopefully you can hear everything and see it. And I'll share my screen so that everybody gets to look at it.
I'm Tom Schabel, CEO of Alexandria Industries, and I welcome you here today. You're going to be touring one of our facilities here in Alexandria. We have a number of other facilities throughout the U.S. Enjoy your day, get to meet our people, and see what we're all about. Well, hopefully you enjoyed your tour. Got a chance to see what we do, meet some of our people. It's really our people that make the difference. Thanks for coming. You're welcome back anytime.
Okay, well, hopefully everyone enjoyed that. We had a lot of fun making it, I know that. A couple of things that are a little bit different about Alexandria Industries is what you see at the beginning of the video when there's the overhead drone shot of our facility. Some of you may know last year we began a huge construction project on our facility in Alexandria. We had a $18 million investment in adding an entirely new front office area to our building. It's a 2-story level building now for offices and a front entryway. And we also purchased a new extrusion press, an aluminum extrusion press, which is one of our main pieces of equipment that we use to make the components we do. The extrusion press is a mammoth machine with takes up a huge footprint in our facility. But with the new technology that comes with this machine and equipment, we are able to increase our capacity, our capabilities on the extrusion technology. And we also were able to obtain one of 5 magnetic heaters that go with the extrusion press in the world. We're the first in the US to have this magnetic heating technology with our extrusion press. And again, one of 5 in the world. A lot of other things that we've been focusing on. Oh, what I wanted to mention too is all of this took place during this lovely pandemic that we've been experiencing. So we had to work around a lot of factors like getting people here to travel from Italy, where our extrusion press came from, coordinating all those schedules, especially when, access into the country was halted for a lot of, people that wanted to get here. So that was fun, but we were able to make it happen and we got it done with just a little bit of delay. And now we're in full production with that. And as we go each day, we're able to work out the bugs and increase our capacities on that machine. One of the other things that's been a big focus for Alexandria Industries is employee recruiting, which I'm sure many manufacturers like us are struggling with, finding the workers that we need to grow. And so we've been putting together some fun social media campaigns and using graphics and posters and banners and different ways of reaching, people that may be looking for work because they lost their job due to the pandemic or other things like that. So it's been a fun road with that regard, and we are seeing some success getting more applicants into, our job openings. So with that, I'll open it up to Lynette if you want to add any comments to what I've said, or we can go right to a Q&A.
I think we can go right to Q&A. Patty, thank you for doing such a great job highlighting what we've done. And yeah, it's pretty impressive inside of our facility here. And even though that video was really fun and I enjoy it every time I see it, what Patty shared, we look very different today now with that $18 million investment with building expansion and new technology with equipment.
Okay. Amy?
All right. Well, just as the format with Jeana, we ask if you have any questions for Alexandria Industries, you could submit those through the chat, and I am happy to relay those for you. And we do have some to get us started here. So what are some things in your organization has done to educate students on the great careers available in manufacturing?
Lynette, do you want to answer that?
Sure. That gets to be a huge challenge, and I know you guys are all in the same situation that we are. How do we expose the opportunities that careers in manufacturing bring to our students? We work with the high school students a lot. We're currently working with them on two different projects, I suppose they'd call them capstone projects. We do internships, we do scholarships. We are very involved in curriculum development, certainly at the Alexandria Area High School, to build relationships to support the manufacturing career paths that they have over there. Every opportunity that we can, back in the day, when we would bring student tours in, very engaged with Alexandria Technical and Community College, not only supporting them again through scholarships, but also curriculum development, donation of machines. So any idea that anybody presents to us, to try to expose manufacturing out there to the youth. And, we've also realized, that we need to go younger and younger and younger to get involved with kids and expose them to manufacturing opportunities. And then again, tell them, that it's not just production jobs. As a company with over 600 employees, we've got marketing, we've got sales, we've got information systems and technology and estimating. I mean, there's just a wealth of opportunities. And so the more that we can get the story out there, the better it's going to be for our futures.
Wonderful. Thank you. Another question here. Can you share some of the ways you're caring for your employees during the COVID-19 pandemic?
That has become certainly a full-time job for me. Again, one of the first things we did from the very beginning was to let the employees know that we had a responsibility as their employer to keep them safe. And so I think we were probably pretty proactive in promoting face masks, for example. We had a team of probably about 30 employees and family members who started sewing masks for us from the very beginning. And so either people were donating the supplies or sewing. And again, bringing in all the safety precautions. We have and continue to have disinfecting done by a professional cleaning service twice a day at all of our facilities. And we did that right from the very beginning, the hand sanitizer. We also have our leaders who go around every day checking in with their teams to say, how are you doing? And it's not just work related, it's, you know, how are things going at home? We have what we call an extended leave bank, and traditionally it's been, you can only access it if you're out on FMLA, a doctor certified leave. What we decided to do early on in the pandemic was for individuals who are impacted by either a quarantine or a COVID positive, that they would have the ability to access those ELB hours so that they didn't have to worry about using all of their vacation time or PTO time, you know, to stay home. And as a result, I think we had individuals who were very willing and open to say, I've been exposed, what should I do? And I think that's allowed us overall, again, you know, we have a facility in the Dallas area and in Indianapolis, you know, so those big communities, they were dealing with it long before we were in Minnesota. And I think we had a result. The result was that we stayed healthier because of all the proactive measures that we put in place to make sure that we were keeping our employees safe. But number one was the communication piece. Early on in the pandemic, we were communicating on an almost daily basis, educating our employees. We have our own clinic, and that became just a huge resource for the employees as well. So those are a few things.
Great, thank you. Question here in chat. Are you seeing an increase of movement of people from larger metropolitan areas to rural Minnesota, to people looking for a better quality of life? And then part two, also, when you're hiring today in certain positions, are you offering work from home options? If so, does that mean you can look for employees farther away?
Great questions. You know, we have seen some movement, probably not as much as you would expect. And I think the impact of that is, you know, the ability of so many people to work from home, you know, and so some of that movement is people who have careers, they're not necessarily looking for new careers, but they are relocating, you know, into outstate Minnesota just because it feels safer here. And they have the ability to have the work-life balance, you know, that Jeana was talking about, you know, out of those metro areas. Again, from the very beginning, we sent people home who had compromised health conditions. We sent them home first. Then the next group of individuals that we sent home were those who had family members who had some underlying health conditions. And then for a period of time, anybody that could work effectively from home was working effectively from home. That still continues to a certain extent today in some areas. And I would guess that there's a lot of organizations who have a lot of real estate that they're not using right now because we have learned over these past 10 months the tools that are out there and how we can effectively work from home. So to answer that question, yes, we would very much consider people who aren't living in Minnesota or in any of our locations to work from us or to work for us if they have the ability to work successfully from home.
Thank you. What has your company done, or what is it doing to grow business?
Well, it was an interesting year for us again. Early on in the pandemic, a lot of those non-essential businesses that shut down, things were a little concerning. And then as those businesses opened back up, things have gotten super crazy for us here. We've hired, since August, we've hired probably about 60 new employees, and we're constantly looking for more as we continue to grow all of our locations. Not everybody is operating 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, but we're moving towards that just because of the demand. But, you know, we serve the medical market, firearms, solar, fenestration, you know, so everything that people are doing, you know, is actually positively impacting our work because they're doing home improvements, they're doing staycations, you know, so they want to buy boats and trailers and all those toys. Again, some of the essential industries that we serve, certainly the medical market. So at this point in time, we don't have enough people to meet the demands that are put on the organization. So yeah, it hasn't really impacted us. We don't need to be looking for more work. We need to be looking for more people to make the stuff to get it out there.
Wonderful, thank you. Last question here. What's one thing that sets Alexandria Industries apart from its competitors?
That's an easy one. And I know many of you, might say the same thing, but the culture of this organization is so unique. It's very family oriented. Families are always first, and those just aren't words. And I think, again, throughout the challenges of the last 10 months, people have really seen that families do matter. We have what we call a benevolent fund. It's an internal, so it's a 501c3 organization that is monitored by an internal board of directors and a group of employees. And for any employee who finds himself in time of financial crisis, they can either apply for financial assistance or a coworker submits their name. And that's just, again, another opportunity for us to care for our employees in a way that probably most other organizations don't. Some of the gifts that come out of the financial or come out of the benevolent fund are thousands of dollars, to help people finding themselves in a time of crisis. So again, I think that just really talks about the culture of the organization, very caring, very family oriented, and there's a lot of long-term employees here. We had a gentleman this week retire after 37 years of service. We have another individual retiring at the end of January who's been here for 48, I believe. So it's just a great culture, great environment.
That's quite impressive. Thank you.
Yeah, I can kind of second that, coming from the Twin Cities market, working there. And I've been here about 7 years now, but it is quite different from what you see, in the bigger cities and the bigger organizations and whatnot. I really appreciate the fact that when I show up at work in the morning, there could be 5 people that say good morning just as I'm walking in the door. And a lot of times I never saw that before, but it's a really, really good feeling. And I think, to credit to senior leadership and leadership in general for Alexandria Industries, I think they do a great job of communicating with employees, whether it's about COVID, the pandemic, our financials, what's happening as an organization. Our leadership team has always been very open with employees in terms of letting them know what's going on with the company. So it's quite refreshing to be in the know.
Wonderful. Well, thank you, Patty and Lynette, very much for sharing your video and your time. And with that, I would like to pass it back to Mark.
Right. So it's been a great meeting. It's one of my first ones with online with Tri-State. So I really enjoyed it. I'd like to thank Jeana for taking the time to share her experience with us today, and Patty and Lynette for sharing the tour and your follow-up questions. Thank you very much. You helped shared a lot of information with us today. I would also like to thank our audience, everybody that's still sticking on with us. That's great for being with us, and we appreciate your continued support. This webinar has come to an end. The presenters and I will stay for a few minutes after if you have any questions about Tri-State. And so I think Amy and Sandy hopefully is around to answer any questions. But if you're logging off, Happy New Year, and we'll see you next month at the next meeting. Thank you.